I have an 8-foot 4x4 treated post here, and I'm actually going to cut it at 7 foot. And the reason is, and I'm going to give you these numbers in case you want to put yours at a different depth below ground. This needs to be 4.5 feet above ground, and then I'm going to bury it 30 inches below ground. So that's going to give you 7 foot exactly that your post needs to be. So here's my 84-inch long post. I'm just going to go ahead and set that to the side, and we'll work on the next post. So this is a scrap 4x4 that I've had for probably 6 months. So that's why I originally started with an 8-foot 4x4 for the other piece. If I'm doing the math right, and you want to make this out of one 4x4 total, if you buy a 10-foot 4x4, it'll do everything. So anyways, we're going to cut this at 30 inches. So we'll go ahead and get this marked off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the middle of my 4x4, which is right here, okay? And we are going to go ahead and we're going to put a mark. Then what we're going to do is I've got my saw setting at 45 degrees. We're going to cut every corner of this thing at 45 degrees, and it's going to give us a nice pyramid shape on the end of this 4x4. We're going to put the cut piece, the angled part there on the back of the fence. And we're going to come in here and we're going to basically mark where that shadow line meets that point, which looks to be right there. So let's go ahead and get this cut. Now for the other sides, we are going to basically line the shadow line up to this point right here and cut this way. So flip it like this, line it up to this point, and hopefully pretty much meet up in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and do this on the other side of this 30-inch piece, and then I'm going to do it to the top of the post. What we're going to do is we're going to half lap joint this piece into this piece. What I need to do is measure the width of this piece here and transfer it to this piece. So coming down here right about where I'm going to put that piece roughly, you're looking at 3 9/16. I have went ahead and I've marked the center line of this piece. So I'm going to go ahead and mark off basically over this way to make a 3 9/16 line around here. Yeah, so I've determined that I want this to be the back of my cross because there's some knots and stuff here. So this is going to be the part that needs to be notched out right here. Now if you don't have a miter saw that has this capability, you can totally use a table saw, or you can use a skill saw. Hold a square up here and make repeated cuts. My miter saw has a depth stop here with a screw adjustment. And you just hold it here and you just make repeated cuts, basically the same way you do a skill saw. I've got half figured out exactly on my combination square. So I think what I'm going to do is take a scrap piece of 4x4 and get this depth dialed in exactly, and I'll slip this down into the kerf and we'll get it right, then we'll do it on this actual piece. So when you're doing this type of cut with the miter saw, you need to have a piece of scrap material between the fence and your workpiece. This allows for the circular shaped blade to make a full depth cut on the back side of your workpiece. So I have the notch cut out. What I did was I cut my shoulder here and I just snuck up on this one till I got a perfectly tight fit. And right there we go. So to figure out where we're gonna put the cross on the post, this is the long post, we're gonna come down 12 inches from this ledge right here. So that's the top. And what we'll do is we'll put this on, line it right up on that shoulder right there, and then go ahead and mark the bottom shoulder right there. So that right there is what needs to be cut out on this piece right there. So I got this notch cut out and it's pretty much perfect. Go ahead and put this piece in just to try it. Gets tight there towards the bottom. Alright, right there we go. What I wanted to do is figure out a screw that was long enough but yet gave me some wiggle room right here. This is a number 10 by 3 inch deck screw exterior. The 2.5 inch wasn't really going to give me much bite. The 3 inch is going to leave me there, and it's going to leave me right at about a 1/2 inch of material right there. That 1/2 inch is going to be important. So with this Gorilla Glue, I actually don't know if this is any good still, as far as if it's liquidy. It's not that old, it's only maybe 6 months old, but it seems liquidy, but I'm not sure. Anyways, I don't use it that often, but when you're using pressure treated wood like this, you kind of need to. So the best thing to do is dampen one piece. Probably don't really need to damp pressure treated wood, but I don't know, I do anyways. So this towel, it has water on it. I'm just going to take a scrap piece of wood and just spread it out a little bit. Try not to get this stuff on your hands, because this stuff is messy. It's sticky, it stains your hands, all that. Which I'm just going to use a drill to basically get them down there, and then I'm actually going to tighten them by hand because I don't want to overdrive them too deep, because I need that extra width on the wood down there, and then I don't want to strip anything out either. So now we're ready for the next step. And what we're gonna do is we are gonna put the pet's name on the cross right here, and we're gonna route it out. What I've done is I have printed out the name of our pet on a laser printer. That's the key part. You have to use a laser printer. All right? Then what you have to do is you have to mirror the image. Because see, if I'm reading that, it's backwards. It's, YBUR. But when I lay it down onto the cross, it's exactly how you want it. So what I've done is I went ahead and put some center marks on here and on the cross, and I'm going to line this up. I've got the name taped down on here, centered on my cross. I'm just going to take a clothes iron, and the idea here is to transfer the toner from the laser printer, basically melt it onto the cross. There are other ways, a lot of other ways you can do this, but being I only really need like a rough outline to use a router on, this is the method that I'm going to use. I have to make 2 more of these crosses. I'm going to research a little bit better methods. I know people use polyacrylic, and then there's some gel and different stuff that you can use, but it doesn't really matter because I was able to see the outline. So I just traced it with the fine Sharpie. So I have what I need for this. It just wasn't quite, I mean, there's people that do it and get, you know, picture quality transfers. So the next step is to go ahead and route this out. Now I'm using my Bosch Colt trim router, and I'm using a Freud 3/8 inch wide bit, and I have it set to 1/4 inch deep, which I think will be good for these letters. The other thing is, when you're setting the depth of that, remember our screws, this is 3.5 inch wide right here. We use 3-inch screws. So we have a 1/2 inch of play right here. So by going down 1/4 inch and not more, we shouldn't hit any screws in this area. So I'll give you guys a little tip here. Pick out a font that has rounded corners instead of sharp corners. This allows the router bit to cut out the complete shape instead of having to come back when you're done and do a bunch of chiseling in the corners. What I did was I picked out my font first, which I can't remember the name of right now, but I'll try to put it in the comments. And then I played around with the size to get it to fit on the face of a 4x4 correctly. Whew. All right, guys. So I'm just a little bit dusty. But anyways, I wanted to say that this turned out really good. I'm really pleased with it. So I wasn't even going to show this step, but this Dremel with this small sanding wheel on it ended up being awesome for getting down in here and just kind of cleaning all this up a little bit. So I just figured I'd pass that little tip along to you. So the last step as far as this routed out lettering goes is to paint the inside of the letters black. I've just got a small thing of black paint. I got it at Ace Hardware. This is semi-gloss, and it's indoor and outdoor. And one unique thing about this, I was reading the instructions, it says it goes on blue and dries black. If I didn't get any paint up here on this main face when I was painting it, I wouldn't have sanded it at all. I actually prefer the little bit rougher look, especially this is kind of going in a field up against some woods. So I wouldn't have sanded it at all, but you can do whatever you want. If you want it super smooth, go ahead and sand the whole thing down. So I chose to stain my cross using a good exterior stain. I put 2 coats on and it turned out the exact color I was shooting for. I chose to not use any kind of clear coat top finish like a urethane or anything like that because I want to be able to quickly apply another coat of stain as needed every couple of years and not have to do any surface preparation or sanding. Well, I am now down here at the site where I'm going to install the cross that we made. I've got my tools here to dig the hole. Right there's my cross, and Right in here is the area. The reason I chose this spot originally, this is one of the prettiest places on our property, and the sun comes up about right over there, and they can just watch the sunrise every morning. The digging went smoothly except for the first 16 inches where I had to deal with tree roots. We had just received several inches of rain from the remnants of Hurricane Helene, which made the ground softer. Dug the hole 30 inches deep, first to provide a sturdy base for the taller 4x4 post, and second, to reach below the frost line so we don't have frost heave. Okay guys, so I got it all installed. I think it turned out beautiful. I love it. But anyways, on that note, I have at least one more of these to make. Unfortunately, we lost our cat. I think I'm gonna make a shorter, smaller one for that. Let me just show you how beautiful this spot is right here. So I'll put another video up here, guys, if y'all wanna check out some other stuff from our channel.